Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we are going to preview Emerald City Invitational, and the new upcoming EBI that's back after, a couple years off?
Yeah, a few years off.
We are also going to recap Fight to Win 197 and talk a little about some other upcoming events, including some ADCC Trials news that we have. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, to my co-host,
Miranda.
Hey, Miranda.
Pretty good. How are you?
It's been a very, very busy day for me.
I feel like you say that every Monday.
Yeah, but this one I had to do a petroleum station investigation today, so
Sweet.
it was a big day. Other than that, let's talk about a little bit of news first before we get into that. ADCC West Coast Trials has officially capped a lot of its divisions.
They capped the amount, but they haven't closed yet.
Yeah, they're not closed, but they've capped. So I think 77 only has less than 20 slots left.
Yeah.
So if you're considering registering for 66, 77 especially, register now, because by the time this show comes out, there will probably only be a couple spots left. FYI, they are capping those divisions at 256 people. So that means that those divisions have 235 people approximately registered for those divisions.
Which is 8 matches, right? Isn't that what we came up with?
I didn't expect a follow-up question.
I think
but it's
because
like
it was the same as East Coast, because East Coast was 230 something.
Something like that. But a lot of people dropped because that was a weird event because for the East Coast Trials, they pulled all the registrations from a year prior into that event.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that were registered a year prior didn't show up and moved it. So there was a lot of movement in that registration. West Coast Trials, everyone has registered in the last couple of months. So I would assume that that the vast majority of those, and it's Vegas, the vast majority of those registrations are going to be real. And also the second West Coast Trials for the U.S., the second trials for the U.S., the West Coast Trials, is always the bigger trials anyway.
Yeah.
So I would assume that you're going to have 7 matches to win that, if not 8 matches to win that. I assume the people that are in the big slots are probably going to get a bye first round, if there are buys to be had, because that's reasonable.
Yeah.
But yeah, tons of matches. That's wild. Let me read you through what is going to be the divisions so far. Keith Corrigan just pulled out an Emerald City Invitational. He is listed as 66 kilograms. I assume that he would do that. Your third time silver medalist in a row at trials, probably has the number 1 or number 2 spot going into 66. We have Gianni Grippo. We have Josh Cisneros. We have Damian Anderson. We have Ben Eddy, John Calistine, Junia Casio, Andrew Tackett, Elijah Tagagon, and Adam Benayu. That's
a lot of those guys are Emerald City Invitational.
Yeah. I mean, again, cream of the crop Nogi guys. Yeah. That's who you're looking at. That's just 66. That's worth the flight in itself to see those guys in a bracket. 77, William Tackett, Majee Cage, who's had both of those guys had crazy runs. Cody Steele, PJ Barch, John Satavo, Pasado Santos, Alan Sanchez, Michael Lira, Pierre Olivier Leclerc, Kieran Kirchek, and John Combs, of which we're going to cover 3 of those guys today.
Yeah.
That's a crazy division. And, both these divisions have 200 other people plus in the divisions. 88, Jacob Couch, Adam Bradley, Kyle Chambers, Sloan Clymer.
Back up.
Mm-hmm.
In 77 is also supposed to be the other Daisy Fresh guy.
Couch?
No.
Oh, no, Wiltsey.
Wiltsey is
Wiltsey just got registered for that, too. He's a front runner in that division. Yeah. A lot of people are picking him to take that.
Because he was injured. They said he's coming back from injury.
Yeah, he's coming back from injury. Did they have surgery?
I don't know. That's all. All I heard was he was coming back from injury and that he'd be in 77 probably.
Yeah. 88, Jacob Couch, Adam Bradley, Kyle Chambers, Sloan Clymer, Hunter Colvin, David Garmo, Jason Rao, Achilles Rocha, Jacob Rodriguez, Benji Silva, Sean Metamarco.
Achilles is bigger than I thought he was.
Who is?
Achilles.
Yeah, he's getting big.
I thought he was in 77 for whatever reason.
I don't remember. Did he just... I thought he...
He might have been at 88 and I just didn't...
He might have been at 77 at East Coast Trials. Because he did East Coast Trials.
He came out with
also
his
did
feet
South
all
American
wrapped, but I'm trying to think who he went against. Who did he get in the fight with?
Quentin Rosenwig.
Okay, and so that he probably did 88 then.
I think so.
Remember the big fight and
I remember that.
His dad came out and came out and it was a
whole big thing. So
situation.
That's 88 kilograms. Again, another division that would be a crazy tournament. Plus, there's probably another 100 people in that division. Under 99. is Devontae Johnson, Elder Cruz, Elliot Kelly, Mario Gonzalez, Jared Dopp, and Joe Dirkheising. Gonna get his name right eventually. That's a crazy bracket. Plus 99, Kyle Bame, Damon Ramos, Elliot Marshall, Raymond Alex, and Cesare Childre, who we haven't talked about in a long time in the show, but again, a force of the bigger divisions. The women's divisions, because the second trials for a region is the women's qualifier, is the one that actually counts, Miranda. For the women's divisions.
I can say that out loud because it's the truth.
Because it counts, yeah. I mean, the first one's a warm-up. It's like, hey, you want to compete in ADCC? Here you're going to do it.
That was the amounts.
Oh, we have amounts now, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Under 60, we have Brienne St. Marie, we have Jasmine Rocha, we have Natalie Habero, we have Tammy Musamechi, we have Alexandra Enriquez, we have Raquel Canuto, Heather Rafferty, Lauren Sears, and Bree Robertson. That's a wild under 60 kilogram division. Plus 60 kilograms, you have Kendall Riesling, Elizabeth Clay, Amy Campo.
Didn't Kendall win?
She won a couple years ago.
She won East Coast. Okay, and She won East Coast, but East Coast doesn't count. So that's why she's doing.
She won in 20.
No, I was thinking she won East Coast, and I was like, "Why is she doing it again?"
Yeah, because East Coast didn't
freaking count.
But she got a paid trip by Tom DeBlas to go to West Coast Trials. We have Amy Campo, Maggie Grandati, Aaron Harp, Tara White, and Kat Zingano. So Miranda showed me a post here that I didn't realize we had in the 66 kilogram division. This is what, a couple days ago?
Yeah.
This is a day ago, 23 hours ago. 208 registered at 66, 77, 236 registered, 88. 196 registered, 99, 72 registered, which is wild for 99, and above 99, 58 registered. For women, under 60 kilograms, 75 registered. That is one of the largest women's divisions that I have ever seen in my entire life. At plus 60, we have 48 women. That, again, is one of the largest women's divisions I have ever seen.
Oh, totally.
Again, for women's opens, for majors at black belt, we don't see divisions that are beyond 15, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, that's rare.
Yeah,
especially nowadays. We had the Euros, which had a division of, I think, 4 or 5 for the Open. Like, it is uncommon. So to have divisions that are that big, this is gonna be something special. It's why I booked the flights. That I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. Did
you book the flights before
the
gas prices went up?
No,
just think about it. Gas prices are going up. Plane tickets are going to go up.
Yeah, I gotta book them. But yeah, no,
book your flights.
Looking at all the names was like, oh yeah, this is worth it. Also, in big news for ADCC, I did an interview with Carlos Diaz, one of the referees for ADCC. It is happening later in this episode. We talk about AJP for a while, which is there's a big upcoming tournament in Orlando. We talked about AJP and how awesome that tournament and event is going to be. We also talked about ADCC and rules and reffing. So that interview is later in the show. It is a great interview. Really enjoyed talking to Carlos. It was super insightful. Carlos was actually one of the referees that did Miranda and I's rules seminar at East Coast Trials. And so they are doing another rules seminar on April 1st in Vegas. I think it's $50 actually.
Yeah, you said it was less than, we paid $100.
Which I think I'm going to go do that one again because, again, we didn't talk about ADCC enough. It's very insightful. I learned a ton from it. I asked some good questions. I got some clarification on some things I was wondering about. And for me, given what we do here on Grappling Rewind, I think it's very much worth it for me to take that seminar again and continue to learn from those folks because it's super insightful. And it was awesome to be in the room with those people talking about the rules and why they work. And then hearing Mo later be giving some strategy to the athletes about how they should handle certain situations with the rules. And it was overall just a really, really interesting experience. And it was worth it. It was $100 for East Coast. It's only $50 for West Coast. So
it depends on when I get in. I'm not really sure.
I'm going to get in early enough to go.
Vegas.
It is Vegas.
It's Vegas.
So what other news? You got some other news items too.
There was invites for ADCC. Lucas Barbosa at 88.
Yeah, Hulk is at 88 now.
Souza at 66.
Which is an amazing invite for a 66.
And Vinny I always pronounce his last name. Magalhaes at 99.
Which is great. Vinny, former champion for ADCC. Yeah. If you ever want to see a wild armbar escape and like defense, go watch his match with Fabricio Verdum. Stuart Cooper has a film on it where he interviews both Vinny Magalhaes and Verdum after the match, and it's super insightful. Stuart Cooper puts out some great stuff. You should go and watch that particular match and interview on YouTube.
Is he the one that said that like locks don't work? Was that him?
Vinny?
Yeah.
I mean, Craig Jones broke his leg in half at SUG. He might have said excellent work.
And then got his leg broken.
I mean, he said it for years, and because he fought Gordon Ryan at ACBJJ, and then Gordon Ryan couldn't leg lock him, and then he beat Gordon Ryan on points. And then he fought Craig Jones later.
He said something like that, and then his foot got broken.
His leg got broken. And there were some great memes that came out of it. But yeah, Vinny is awesome. It's awesome to see him at plus 99. He's, again, a former champion. I always love it when former champions get invites into ADCC because although he had a kind of an odd run at 2019, you know.
Lucas Barbosa at 88. Isn't that small? Or is he normally that size?
He can make that. I think he's gonna have to work to get down to that. But again, I could be wrong. I always have Hulk as much bigger, but he always is a little bit smaller than I think he is.
I'm trying to think how big.
For some reason, I think he might have been at 88 last time.
Okay.
Because I think him and Gordon were in the same division.
Okay.
And Gordon beat him. I think it was first round matchup.
Gordon was 88? It was little Gordon. It had to have been Gordon before he got all beefed up.
I thought Gordon was 88 last time.
Before he got all the vitamins?
No, I thought at 2019 he was 88, wasn't he? No, sorry, Craig was 88. You're right. They were different divisions. Yeah. Yep. And Gordon was 99.
Gordon's big.
Gordon was previously 88.
Yeah, when he was skinny Gordon.
Yeah, 2017 Gordon was 88.
Yeah, when he did finishers and he did all those tournaments.
Yeah, well, he was been at 170 at those divisions. So that's huge invite news. Those are all amazing invites. Very, very excited to see those invites. Miranda, do you have any other news?
I think that's it.
That's it. Do you want to move? Is that it really? I thought we had one other piece of news.
No, that's it. We got West Coast Trials. We got the invites. Got EBI starting again, which we'll go into. We have Emerald City happening. And I think that's it.
Yeah. No, that's it. You're right. That is all the news you sent me.
If we think of something else as we go up.
Yeah, in true Grappling Rewind fashion, in the middle of a recap segment, we're going to go, oh, yes, and also this thing happened.
And this thing happened. We forgot about it.
Yeah. So let's move into the recap section. Let's talk about Fight to Win 197?
Yep.
Yeah. No, sorry, 196.
196.
Fight to Win 196.
In Denver, Colorado.
Which is, again, one of the homes of Fight to Win. It was awesome to see some of the Denver guys. We got to see Troy Everett and Dan Dykeman. Troy took his third... I think he has the third most wins now for a split decision win. 16 wins in Fight to Win.
No, 16 matches.
16 matches.
Yeah.
Very up there in wins. Let's talk about the main event. We had Bill the Grill Cooper taking on John Combs. This is a fun match, but it was a very quick match. Again, this is a really tough matchup for Bill because John Combs is one of the guys that's continued to rise, and like we've seen him win trials. We've seen him on ADCC.
Which shooting on him probably wasn't the best idea.
So Bill does what Bill does, and immediately they
if you
slap
know
and bump.
John Combs, you know you don't shoot.
John Combs has, I think he talked about it last.
It's like you. I don't shoot on you.
You have a pretty
because I
good.
know my head is going to get grabbed.
Look, I do like 4 things, and one of them is that good guillotine. Much like John Combs, one of my idols.
I'm going to trip you. I'm not going to put my head down and let you choke me.
So Bill does kind of runs on the outside. Like Bill does, kind of setting up, waiting for you to kind of move into him. Yeah. And then towards the edge of the stage, Bill kind of reaches for John's hip, and then he shoots a very, very low, what could almost turn into like a low single or like an ankle pick almost, or a very, very low shot.
Yeah.
And John Combs...
Maybe he thought he was going to go below John Combs.
I wasn't quite sure.
You know what I mean?
John Combs sees you shoot on him and goes... Yes, the thing I finish everyone with.
I'm going to
the
grab your
guillotine
head.
Is now available to me. Locks in a super nice guillotine. He kind of locks in almost like an arm-in guillotine here. And then he kind of waits. And he does a little bit of adjustment with his hips and his hands.
Yeah.
But...
he gets his hips out to the side and then he flips him over.
He starts with an arm in.
Yeah.
And Bill, very, very calm there. You see Bill, and it looks like he's going to hover hand, but then you realize he's kind of just messing around.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, Bill Cooper.
Yeah.
You're great. He moves like his hands up. Kind of doesn't really defend super hard. He's sort of waiting for John to move position.
Yeah.
And then I think he's looking to counter off of John's movement here. And then John Combs does what John Combs does when he has your neck in a guillotine. He flips him over,
yeah.
And then he very rapidly, he goes to mount, and he very rapidly changes his hand position a little bit in order to kind of push the arm right into the front of your neck. And then he kind of flares up a little bit, and then Bill very quickly taps there. And...
it's over.
Functionally, that was it. No, John Combs, I think he talked about it in one of the lead-ups. It might have been a Jits King, but it could have been something else. he has a submission percentage. He has pretty diligent note taking for his submission percentage, and I think he has like a 60 or 80% win. If he beats you by guillotine.
Almost every single match that we've seen him in the last 2 or 3 months, his
Zapatero wins are all by guillotine and pin.
And I'm sure he got at least 1, if not 2, at trials.
I think that had to be the case.
Yeah. Because he made it.
Just offhand.
He made it to day 2.
He did make it to day 2.
So I would.
Was he 66, 77?
77.
Okay. I know he kind of bounces around weights, but again, another really, really great win for John Combs leading up to West Coast Trials. Again, West Coast Trials is less than a month away. That happens April 3rd. It's March 7th when we're recording this. So kind of we're seeing a lot of guys, as we see a lot of guys compete more and more, we're getting much closer to seeing probably what they're going to show us as their comp game going into West Coast Trials. We're seeing them sort of refine that. This is probably pretty indicative of the John Combs we're going to see. So I am kind of curious moving into trials if people are going to shoot on him with the frequency that we're seeing here.
Well, I mean, and that might have been a strategic thing where he thought if he shot low enough,
bail,
that he would go under him and then he wouldn't be able to grab his head, or at least he would be able to feel him grab his head before he could react.
Right, and kind of scramble out, because Bill is, again, a very, very good scrambler. Combs is a very good scrambler too, but one of the things that Bill is known for is just a very unorthodox ability to scramble and get out of lots of things. So that's that match. Again, fun to watch John Combs do what he does in Denver, because he went to school out in Denver. He was a Denver guy for a long time before coming back to the East Coast, so it is cool to see him feature as the headliner in Denver. What's the next match you got?
We can go into the match that was almost the same exact thing.
Yeah, this is a neat match. Just looking at the highlight match.
Edmonston versus Chase Namba. I'm not sure what rank they were, though.
I wasn't sure either. It was a no-gi match.
It was a no-gi match.
And I wasn't sure exactly when I caught the replay of this one.
Yeah.
And it was super quick. Again, it was a very similar... It was pretty much the exact same thing.
It was an arm drag to inside single, but this was a this was a really nice arm drag to inside single.
Well, it was basically exactly like... It's funny, I watched a JT Torres highlight of JT Torres basically hitting this exact same takedown in a bunch of his ADCC runs, and then cut in with...
This is the takedown. I've watched so many people hit this takedown recently. Yeah. It's absolutely pathetic.
Well, this is the thing that's won JT Torres like 2 ADCC titles, is this particular arm drag to inside trick, and they drag you down.
And he did a really good job. He didn't drop his head. I mean, he didn't do... Like, Combs grabbed Cooper's head before he hit the ground.
Yeah.
Chase definitely was up, but then Craig jumped his head.
Yeah, it was a really interesting way, because he had to get up over the neck and head, and it was neat. As a guy that favors the guillotine as well, it was nice to see, like, oh yeah, he did that same counter where he jumps over you, he forces you to sort of drop into the pocket of your hips, and then you're over their neck and shoulders, and you can start working, locks it up, again, rolls to the top. He kind of rolls to the top after he's unconscious.
The guy kind of goes out in the roll.
Yeah, and then comes to the top, and it's again a very cool, very nice finish. It was interesting to see 2 finishes. This one was again 30 seconds, less than that into the match, but it was interesting to see this, and then later in the card, John Combs versus Bill the Grill
almost the same
finished in a very very similar sequence. So neat to see that on the card.
And then who else we had? We had a gi match that I actually watched. It was Casey Pratt versus Matthew Cano. I enjoy like 145, 150 pound gi matches because they don't stop moving ever.
Yeah.
And these two just kind of went from top to bottom,
You're openly very much a no-gi person.
Yes, I'm very openly.
We can throw you in the gi a couple days a week. Like, I'm pretty much, I don't know, 40, 60, depending on the week, no-gi.
I'm like 90% no-gi.
Yeah, you're mostly a no-gi person.
I will put on my gi if I have to, and then I will get comments when I compete in the gi like, oh, you're a no-gi person because you don't do grips. You don't address grips. So to have you, I'm like, oh.
To have you highlight a gi match is always entertaining.
So anyway, but Casey Pratt is a Logos Michael Luera guy, which Michael Luera came from San Diego and then moved out and created his own school.
Started his own thing after that.
But yeah, it was interesting to see them. It was just kind of a back and forth. At the very end, there was a Kimura trap. Cano got a Kimura trap, rolled him over, and that was kind of the win of the match.
Yeah, off that submission.
but they were like crazy. I mean, they didn't stop moving. And it was like, if you ever just want to watch somebody run through like 10 different kinds of passes in a row and still not get any of them and keep on going through. And then one of them decides, oh, I'm going to sit now. And then the other one runs through.
This was fun because you got to watch both players show off their jiu-jitsu. And that's partially why I really love Fight to Win, is because it lets people it lets you decide to fight in jiu-jitsu and not just play like a 2-point game always, which is, again, what is the best thing about the Fight to Win rule set.
Neither had to worry about like getting a sweep.
Oh, they're swept, they're off. Like, hey man, if you want to work from your back, work from your back. If you want to work from the top, work from the top. But like, show me what you have with submissions in your offense, and that will be rewarded in Fight to Win. And so, again, like to see it, not just no-gi only.
Then we had Troy Everett versus Chaz Lynch.
Always love to see Troy walked out to another Britney Spears classic again.
Did he? I couldn't tell what the songs were. Like,
the walkouts are getting, like, he is in Denver. This walkout was not as extravagant as the ones in the past, but it was still great to see Troy having fun walking out there.
And he won a split decision.
He won a really close split decision.
Yeah.
He finished, or he was working towards.
He had a shoulder lock at one point.
Yeah, it was like a really nice, like almost like a mirror. It was a mirror lock variation, which he snapped on really quickly, and his opponent like had to square up very, very readily. And it was a very, very close match. Most of the time on the bottom there, but that one lock is something that you don't see very often, and it's something that Troy is very tricky with. And we've seen him in other highlights from other tournaments hit like a wrist lock off of that, or hit just that mirror lock in that way where if you keep a low underhook on him, he'll snag it up. And again,
I know he does a ton of guillotines too.
Yeah, he does. And Darce, he's also a Darce guy. So it's cool to see Troy kind of continue to move and continue to have some of the most victories in Fight to Win on this one. Third from the top, Troy. Always love to see it. Big friend of the show for a long time. So I always like to cover Troy when he's on there. Dan Dykeman also had him another match on this card. Wins it with pretty much just holding kind of a low guillotine from the bottom for about a minute and a half on it, off of a match where not a ton else happened, but he was able to get it on the sub attempt. So another Fight to Win guy taking another match.
There was a female match it was Mo Black versus Cecilia Hathcock. It was a brown belt match. I only mention this because Mo basically did exactly what I would like to do in every single match in my life, and it never happens, which is she had a blast double, took the girls back, got power half, and then did like the rolling armbar where you just like kick their head down and grab them.
She's good. We saw her, I think most recently was it on EBI, not EBI, but where
I don't know.
We've seen her a bunch, and she comes up as someone we're able to occasionally
literally
cover.
I watched it and I was like, that's what I think about when I go and do matches all the time.
That's the goal.
It never happens, but that's what I always want to do.
so always love to see it.
Just so you know.
Anything else on Fight to Win?
No, that's it.
All right. Let's move on to our preview. Want to preview EBI first or Emerald City first?
EBI's in front of my face. So
all right, let's do EBI first. Previewing the return of EBI, the Eddie Bravo Invitational. Yeah, you're clicking on it. I don't have anything up, Miranda. You have all the notes for EBI.
Oh, I have all the notes.
Yeah, you have all the notes for EBI.
Yeah.
Miranda just pointed at the computer screen like, man, pull it up. I'm like, this one,
nope.
I actually don't have any. Miranda wrote all the names down this time because it was just Instagram handles.
Well, because it was just Instagram handles, and I know some Instagram handles. I do not know them all.
You had to translate them, essentially. So for this EBI, as in per grappling grind fashion, we do not have a bracket yet. This is the return of EBI. EBI has been gone for the men's divisions for 2 or 3 years now.
Pretty much.
And
it got replaced with combat jiu-jitsu,
which we weren't a huge fan of on the show because we didn't. I
think it's hilarious.
The rest of us on the grappling grind didn't particularly.
I like watching men slap each other.
Care for it, as we didn't really cover it a whole lot because it was kind of moving more towards MMA and amateur MMA than kind of we cover on the show.
Yeah. With
the return of just regular EBI and just going back to pure jiu-jitsu, we're gonna go back to covering it again because there are some great names in this event. Want me to move through them?
Yeah, go right ahead.
We got Nathan Orchard, Jay-Z Cavalcante. We have, I can't see the glare, Omar, I can't give, you know his last name?
Emanoli,
and he's the U.S. qualifier champion. So we haven't talked about EBI in a while. EBI is running more qualifiers going into this EBI of the past. So they ran a U.S. qualifier. They also run
a Mexican qualifier and an Argentina qualifier.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure, and you weren't sure, if they had also run a 10th Planet qualifier, because historically EBI ran, almost like an in-house qualifier, and then from that they would pick someone basically who won that, so to give a chance to give another 10th Planet name into Eddie's bracket,
Yeah.
which again we always kind of
Not that
appreciated.
I'm aware of, but
I mean, that's where we first see
because I was
Keith
trying to
recording
find out
come
when
on.
the Argentinian qualifier was. Argentinian. I couldn't find it. To save my
Yeah,
life.
so we were having problems with that, but that's what all Omar is. He's one of those qualifier. We also have Oliver Taza in this one. We have John Combs. We have Danny Stoffi. We have David Garmo. We have Khalil Falhalda. We have Aaron Harris. We have Ivan. What's his name? Leva. Your handwriting is amazing, but with the glare from the studio lights, I'm having a problem with it. We have Vinicius de Jesus.
It's Catholic school. It's giving me really good handwriting.
I have unreadable handwriting, which is why I write all my notes in in computer.
Yeah.
We have Vinicius de Jesus, who's a Bellator welterweight. And he's the CES champ. He was the CES champ, and CES is an organization
it's
that
kind of local sort of to us.
We have watched a lot of CES fights in the East Coast over the years. We have Oscar de los Santos. We have Alan Sanchez. We have Nick Ronan. We have Hunter Colvin, and then the Argentinian qualifier. So without a bracket, this is extremely hard to pick. It's rough to pick against Taza, but there's, I think, half of the field, depending on how this is bracketed out, can realistically take this.
And they're all welterweights, so they're going to have, 30 pounds on Taza?
Taza bounces between 160 and 190.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, Taza's the guy we frequently see, he just...
Because he won 77, which is 168.
He won 170. Yeah, Taza's the guy we frequently see bounce up and down, and he always surprises me. John Combs is again definitely on the lower end of welterweight's 170, so he's on the upper end of the 170 guys as far as grapplers. Colvin's a guy that I'd be curious to see make 170 because he's a much bigger guy. So to have him make welterweight, I think will be a big cut for Hunter Colvin.
Oh yeah, because he went against
Couch,
and
he was not undersized versus Couch, and Couch is a big dude. We also seen him versus Gabriel Gonzaga on Submission Underground.
Something like this, you cut.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, guys. Given the names in the bracket, JJ Cavalcante just had an amazing run at South American trials. We've seen David Garmo frequently on a couple of different events, and as well as who's number one a couple of times recently. Alan Sanchez, Nick Ronan. I think both of those guys were in qualifiers for other events in the last
They've been in all kinds of events.
Were both of those guys in the Emerald City qualifier?
I think so, and then Nick Ronan. I don't know about the qualifier, but Nick Ronan was on Grapple Fest.
Yes.
That's the last time I think I saw him.
Yeah, so again...
Garmo went against... Who did Garmo go against recently?
Wasn't Couch?
No, yeah, it was Couch.
Was it Couch?
He went against Couch,
Okay. Yeah, so again, definitely an interesting event. I'm very curious to see if how much EBI has changed their rules since they've kind of fallen off our coverage window and then moving back into it. If they're going to implement, the Mollywop rule, or they're going to implement the things that finishers do.
The Mollywop rule is more of a finisher's rule.
Yeah, but I'm curious. A lot of those guys talk. Again, J.M. Holland and Zach Maslany have been kind of carrying the torch of EBI for some time with all the finishers events.
True.
And so
But they're going into Emerald City.
Yeah.
When you think about it. That's
right. But I'm saying that Emerald City and the finishers guys have been the EBI circuits, for the past 3 years.
Midwest finishers. I don't know if West Coast where that is, but I guess they have to have something.
It's in Chicago, I think.
Midwest is, yeah.
Yeah, Midwest finishers.
But then I was
Chicago,
thinking what the EBI world over in the West Coast is, besides just the gym itself.
Yeah, I'm not sure what tournaments they're running.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of tournaments that adopted the format.
Submission on the Shore, but I think that's in Texas. That used to be in California.
And
then Jeff Glover does this thing.
Money on the Mat.
Yep. Did you know that's like a biker club?
Did not know that.
So yeah, he told us when he did the seminar that the reason why he doesn't give out where it is because that's some biker club, and he has to cover the walls because he doesn't want
That's very
they can't
funny.
have their shit seen on these videos and all kinds of stuff.
That's
but yeah,
very
there's
funny.
a whole weird storyline to that.
So EBI is coming back. I think again, do you have a pick for that? I think Taz is the front runner given his success recently at trials. But again, in the EBI format, half of this field, if not more, can take this. You're gonna just guess.
I'm gonna say Aaron Harris.
Okay, Harris is a good pick for this as well. So very fun.
It's going to depend on how they bracket everything.
Yeah. It's really hard to pick before they bracket out.
Because Nathan Orchard, it could get pretty far. He does well.
We've seen him do very well in EBI. I mean,
Yeah.
most of these guys we've seen in EBI, but it has been some time since we've really seen them in a big EBI style event. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But another EBI style event happening this weekend is the Emerald City Invitational. Do we have a bracket for this yet or no?
No, but they keep on showing the video of Ellis, and it's really bothersome. That like whenever they advertise, they keep on showing.
So they keep showing Gianni Grippo
like Gianni
versus
Grippo
our
friend Ellis,
yeah.
like take his foot off.
Like I've done
bothersome.
commentary for Ellis's events, the Egg Guard.
Yeah.
And so it's in highlights, and I constantly have to watch Ellis get his leg ripped off.
He was supposed to be on one of the undercard matches on Emerald City. I think his match got scrapped. To my knowledge.
So the 8-man tournament at 155. Amped about this one. We have Josh Cisneros, Jordan Holy, Adam Benayu, Gianni Grippo, who's being listed as the 45 champ for Emerald City.
So the list that you have right there is not the same list I have.
What list do you have?
Because if you look at the picture, because I went off the picture.
If you look at the picture.
I went off the picture, right?
Yep.
And it's Kiernan Kirchik.
Yep.
He just won the qualifier.
Yeah.
Adam Benayu, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel Sosa.
Yep.
Pedro Serrano.
Yep.
John Calistine.
Yep.
Damian Anderson. But I don't see Damian Anderson. Oh, he's not there. Dude,
Okay.
he disappeared too.
Yep.
They've Gianni Grippo and Josh
Cisneros. Josh Cisneros.
Cisneros.
So it's functionally pretty similar to what we have.
I know they switched a couple out because
there were some injuries.
Jordan Holly, I didn't think was in it.
Well, because he didn't win the qualifier.
No.
But Keith Krikorian is out of this.
Yeah, but
so they might
Adam replaced Keith.
Oh, okay.
Because that was who dropped. Because I was looking at pictures. Because they didn't move them right. So when they drop somebody, they put the other person up in their place.
Right.
So it makes me wonder if that's what happened.
I'm trying to pull it up now. So based on that,
that's Jordan Holly, right?
It's Jordan Holly.
That's what I thought so.
Yeah, and again, the most recent one we have is from a day ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing him.
And we've seen Holly a lot in different events.
Yeah, but I remember looking at him in the picture and not knowing who he was.
So,
because I don't know people's faces very well, it's just a problem. Anyway.
So based on this, we don't have a bracket. It all depends. This is tough to me for pick.
I think we need, depending on how the bracket is, a Sousa versus Grippo match would be freaking wild.
I would love to see that. I would love to see Cisneros versus Grippo or Cisneros versus Sosa. Both of those would be matches that would make me very happy. Again, this is hugely dependent on bracketing.
I would be surprised if Grippo or Sousa didn't make it.
Yeah, depending on bracketing to the finals. Yeah, especially with how good Grippo looked at the last Emerald City.
Somebody like Kiernan could probably take out Grippo
with overtime, maybe.
Yeah.
But with Grippo's new training situation in Hoboken, with the Meows and with like Stingray and all those guys, again,
and all the sweat.
And all the sweat on those mats. Again, this is a tough one to pick. I actually don't want to make a pick here.
Yeah, Calistine we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, he's a real X-Factor. We saw him at trials, and he looked good at trials.
But then he lost, or he didn't lose. He was supposed to be on the original Emerald City, the first one.
Yeah.
Remember in the ref or the
medic.
The medic left, and then
they couldn't do it,
match.
so they did the finals like 2 minutes after, as the guy was leaving the building.
Yeah.
And then he was unable to do his match. Was it Stingray versus him, or was it?
I don't know.
I forget who was.
It was supposed to be his match, and it was like the first time he competed in years.
In like 3 years.
Yeah.
So.
And then I think what's it called took him out in at trials.
I don't recall.
The little guy.
Esteban
took
Martinez.
Him out. Yeah, took him out in
Yeah,
trials.
we talked about him last week.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to make a pick here. This one is so dependent on bracketing. $10,000 on the line.
$10,000. Things are gonna break. I'm sorry to say, shit's gonna break.
They break an EBI style rules for $10,000. So that is this weekend. We also have Fight to Win, which we don't have information about who is headlining that. That is in Tulsa this coming week.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to throw it right over to the interview with Carlos Diaz, unless you have anything else.
Nope, that's it.
All right. So today we have a special guest. We have Carlos Diaz. Carlos and I first met during the ADCC Rules Seminar at the East Coast Trials. Carlos is here to talk about AJP and one of the upcoming tournaments they're running down in Orlando, as well as talk about some ADCC stuff a little later. How you doing, Carlos?
How you doing, man? Good to see you again.
Doing well. We're both coming off some surgeries, so very happy you could make time for us today.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem. And listen, that's one of those things. If you stay long enough, something's going to give, just got to fix it and keep moving.
Yeah. I'm very, very happy you seem to be doing well today. So I wanted to talk to you about, there's an upcoming event for AJP. We've covered AJP numerous times over the years for both their King of Mats events and World Pro. There's an upcoming event that you want to talk about in Orlando. Can you give me some, first of all, what is your role within AJP? And then can you give me some more information about the event?
Absolutely, yeah. So, Abu Dhabi Jiu-Jitsu Pro was gracious enough to grant us a collaboration to co-promote the new season for AJP in the U.S. And, we're going to start off with the Orlando event on April 16th at the Dover Shores Community Center. And, it is one of those qualifying rounds. As you know, in AJP, you qualify for the points for the Grand Slam, big event that they have. So obviously, we want to put the event here. It'll be the first one of this season in the U.S., and we have an estimated 4 more, at least minimum, in the U.S. for the remainder of the year. So we're pushing hard on this.
Yeah, it's awesome. Again, the AJP, we don't get a ton of U.S. events. Usually we get the maybe a New York event or a Los Angeles event for the Grand Slam. So it's awesome to see more events coming, to the U.S. to kick off that season here to allow some U.S. competitors to get points for the other Grand Slams and for the World Pro. It's, again, I like to see people not need to travel as much for U.S. competitors to get a shot at AJP. We absolutely love the rule set, that shorter time frame, the aggressive stalling penalties. Like, overall, we think it really showcases great jiu-jitsu, and it's a rule set, especially in the gi, that I would love to see more organizations kind of move towards and adopt, because I think AJP does so many good things. So to get another event in the U.S., one of our co-hosts on the show, Josh Weinstock, actually tells some stories about doing the first event in the U.S. down, I'm not sure what year it was, down in Florida many, many years ago, and doing a road trip all the way from Baltimore down there to attend that event because it was such a big deal.
Awesome. Well, it's interesting enough, like you said, we don't have enough representation in the U.S. Brazil has a lot of representation. They do an event almost every 2 months down there. Obviously, Europe and Asia have big representation for AJP as well, in the Middle East. So, when you see a lot of the big names, you rarely see a lot of North Americans at the Grand Slam AJP Pro, but so we want to give more availability, and especially, like, for example, venues and hotels usually in the Northeast are a little bit more expensive than everywhere else. Florida tends to be a very touristy region, so there's a lot of affordable hotels here, and some of the other locations that we're in discussion as well. Again, not only hubs for the jiu-jitsu community, but also we want to be able to cater and make it approachable and affordable for everybody, so everybody can come and be a part of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one of the things that we've watched and we've seen AJP do over the years is really try to make jiu-jitsu more accessible for a large group of people. So I like that, again, catering events in locations where, people can afford to go, afford to travel, and afford to compete in is great. And that's, again, why I like to see it in Florida. It has a lot of the things that you mentioned. Is there anything other than it kind of being the kickoff for the North American events? Is there anything else that's kind of significant about this event in particular, or is it really just, a hallmark kickoff event?
The biggest thing is it is the hallmark kickoff event for the season. Obviously focusing on doing a series of events to be able to give North American participants the ability to accumulate those points for Grand Slam. And as you know, Grand Slam has pretty decent prices, not only by the prestige of, being an AJP world champion, but they also do certain cash prizes, so on and so forth. And we're also working very diligently to try to attain some higher end sponsorships, so we can do on the higher level belts some additional prices other than, just the winner for the AJP Orlando or AJP Texas or whatever other regions.
That's one thing that I'm not sure if people realize is that AJP, I think, is it for all of the tournaments or just some of the tournaments, have cash prizes for some of the divisions at those tournaments?
For some for some of the tournaments, not all.
Okay.
But we really try actively. People don't understand. Putting an event of this magnitude is a production.
Yeah.
So it's a combined effort, and we want to give something where the athletes can not just spend $130, $100 for a medal and to play some of the prestige, but they have a little bit something extra to look forwards to, whether it's cash prizes or other type of prizes as well.
Yeah. Again, I've always loved how AJP has championed and pushed towards more compensation for the athletes. I think numerous events like the King and the Queen of Mats events for Grand Slam winners a couple times a year, the organization will get together and host essentially a best of the best tournament with all of former Grand Slam winners at various weight classes, and that has usually an accompanying fairly large cash prize. I know World Pro is the gi event that is the highest paying out tournament as far as both like prestige and payment. Like you get paid to go win World Pro. And I've done seminars with people who have won and placed at World Pro, and they talk about the paycheck after winning that was very nice. And, in the community, organizations and events that are able to pay the athletes, because there are so few and far between, the athletes can do so much with that. They're not just reliant on making their living off of gyms and seminars. They can make their living as a competitor. And, even since we've been running the show about 5 years now, it's been awesome to see more and more athletes talking about being able to have more of their income come from tournament competition and prizes, as opposed to needing to just showcase how good they are at the tournaments. And so AJP is an organization that I'm a huge fan of because it really pushes continued payment of the athletes when they are able to.
Absolutely. And also another thing that I like is, me being involved in several different organizations, is the AJP rule set is pretty interesting because, like you said, it is a shorter time. It is more aggressive rules, pushing for quicker penalties, more action. And, it's one of the things when you really look at a lot of jiu-jitsu, especially in the gi highlights, you see a lot of AJP matches, and you see some very aggressive and fun watching jiu-jitsu with the gi. But in the same token, we will also run a no-gi division on the April 16th event. So we'll have both gi and no-gi.
That's phenomenal. Again, most of the highlights and most of the coverage that we do typically for Grappling Rewind on AJP events is focused on the gi events. But to hear that Orlando will also have something for folks in the gi, but also in no gi is, fantastic. Do we know if the additional events in the United States are planned to do both gi and no gi, or if those going to be primarily focused in the gi?
So that's another thing that we'd like to do is, people, again, traditionally have seen AJP as a gi-only event, but they also have a no-gi component.
Yeah.
So we want to bring that to the forefront as well, and some of the other events will also have gi and no-gi events.
Fantastic.
You have a lot of people that only, like, for example, Nicholas Marigali, he has exclusively trained in the gi until now, until recently that he's going to transition for ADCC. But he was an exclusive, gi competitor. And then in the same token, you have other guys that are exclusively no gi competitors. So we want to be able to give the access to both.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Again, I love organizations that do both and really showcase the breadth of talent that the sport has in both its athletes and in the competitive setting. Where can people go to find out more information about this particular event and register it if they do want? Again, typically on the Grappling Rewind, we cover the black belts, but this event is available for all levels of jiu-jitsu practitioner and practitioner in general. Where's the best place that you can go and find and register for this event?
AJPtour.com. And not only that, I'm actually glad that you mentioned that because all of the matches will be broadcasted on the AJP Tour YouTube page. And also we have partnered up with Fight TV, and we will broadcast on Fight TV all of the main higher level belt finals on Fight TV. They're giving us a lot of time for the broadcasting. So we're also going to push for the no gi finals possibly as well during the Fight TV broadcast. And but people can watch the French matches on YouTube because all of the matches will be broadcast throughout the day.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's one of the real things I really love about AJP is for the big major events, they have some of the best production for event quality, things like Eagle Eye and Eye in the Sky, and just the general production for those events is always phenomenal. And the YouTube side of it is most of the events, at least in the recent past, have been up on YouTube, and you can go and find matches throughout the day on all of the mats. So it's accessible, it's affordable, and athletes can showcase their talent in a rule set that I really think is one of the best in the sport.
Absolutely. And again, AJPtour.com, they have all the events worldwide listed. But remember, it's on April 16th, Orlando, Florida, at the Dover Shores Community Center.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
So coming back in, I'm going to talk to Carlos a little bit about ADCC. So I first met Carlos at the rules seminar for ADCC at the East Coast Trials in 2021. And you said, you'd give us an interview, and I was really happy to take you up on that. And so we're able to do that now. How long have you been a referee or been working with ADCC?
I've been with ADCC now 23 years.
So almost since the beginning.
Yeah, 23, 24. A little bit since, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I take that back. I've been with ADCC 21 years now.
Okay. Still, so that's the majority of, you've really seen it all in the modern area and beyond there for ADCC.
Yeah. I've been, with the exception, actually, I believe the two major ADCCs I've missed was 2019 last year because I was moving and I was in the process of a bunch of other things with my regular employment and moving, purchasing a new house and 20,000 things. And Finland. I didn't get to go to Finland as well. I had some other travel commitments and work commitments at that time. So that didn't pay out. But other than that, I think I've been to every ADCC World Championships and most of the trials.
So how long have you been a referee with ADCC for that whole time?
Yeah, since the beginning of my involvement with ADCC.
So
I've been refereeing, judging. It's kind of funny thing because, Mo Jassim and I, we always joke about, we started passing out coffee cups and bracelets and, hurdling people and doing the weigh-ins. So we've done it from soup to nuts. Yeah,
it's been really interesting to see over the years, Mo, and you post various photos of you all working kind of at, not the lower end of the event, but the more baseline stuff of, Mo talks about handing out the wristbands at his first event that he worked, and worked up to eventually being the promoter for 2019 and 2022. So it's awesome to see, the same folks within that ADCC growing and moving up and, taking on more responsibilities in the organization. So can you explain a little bit how refereeing for ADCC differs than most of the other organizations in submission grappling in general? We discussed it at the rules meeting, but I'm not sure people are really as familiar with that as I would like them to be, because it's a very unique style of judging and refereeing that I think really makes ADCC one of the best.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of different components. ADCC rules are unique, okay? And they are geared to showcase the beginning of the match to go for broke. And we literally, during the rules meeting, we say that to the participants. We want you to go for broke. We want you to try to do whatever crazy submissions and not be worried about somebody's going to get out of your submission and pass your guard, or you're going to get, there's no advantages in any ADCC anyways. And then, of course, we do have to give some sort of system of points because there are some dominant positions. They are, takedowns do have a lot of effort and value. It's very difficult to score because of the parameters. We want to see really good control of the whatever position you actually end up in. But now to directly more towards the refereeing and judging, it's a great question because a lot of people are so used to the referee being the person that awards the points during the matches. ADCC, it is not that way. The person that awards the points during the matches are the judges on the table. Okay, and in any given ADCC, you will have at least minimum 2 judges per table, per mat, and 1 floor referee. The floor referee is kind of like a third eye, but ultimately his primary job is the safety of the participants. One of the things that we pride ourselves is we are not going to look to stop a match just because he got close to the border of the mat. There's a lot of times with scrambles, and position changes where the match can go a little bit out of bounds. We're not going to penalize the person doing an effort to try to submit his opponent and we're just going to give you a couple of points. No, finish him. That's the ultimate goal.
Some of my
jiu-jitsu.
favorite highlights for ADCC are, again, and we talked about it in the rules meeting, and it's very well known in ADCC, the edge of the mat does not mean the edge of action. And in the rules meeting, in East Coast Trials, I loved it this year because the floor was carpeted. And so there was even more willingness to sort of let athletes go until they were in a spot where you could either reset them or fix or let them work through the position. You would have the chairs moved out of the way during the spectator area so that the athletes could continue into those areas if they were fighting through positions. And I think that rule in particular is one of the reasons why that I love ADCC so much, because the athletes and the competitors know that the edge of, you can't really play the border of the mat for ADCC because there are no real borders for the mat in ADCC.
And you will see in many other events where participants will literally, there's guys that I can mention by name that at the beginning of their match, they will literally take 4 steps back, place themselves on the border, and just play around the border of the mat. So, somebody tries to take him down to get the match started and going. No, I'm out of bounds. You got nothing.
Right.
That's a coward move in our eyes, in my opinion. So we discourage that particular technique. And, and this is the other thing. The referee on the mat, we talk and we will touch the athletes. If they're just playing and kind of hand fighting on a neutral stance, we will place the hands on their shoulders. Guys, work to the middle. Move towards the play in the center.
I love the dialogue for the referees there. It's always...
But, in the middle of a match, if you think about it from a perspective of an athlete, your mind is not on trying to listen to the referee. You got a major problem in front of you. You want to work with that problem, which is your opponent. So I'm not trying to look up to the referee every so many seconds to see if I got my point, or did I get a negative, or did I get a warning. No, there's got to be some clear communication, which is actually one of the biggest changes we did this season. So, for example, if somebody gets a warning, we will touch the athlete, alert them that they get a warning, and we will tell their corner as well. So everybody knows you're messing up. You better, get active or stop doing what you're doing, so on and so forth. But those the major differences between refereeing and judging on ADCC. Usually, most other events, the people on the table, they're just scoring and keeping track of the scores that the mat referee does. We don't do that. Why? Because the person on the table is a lot more relaxed and they have a better overall view. They're not worried about, the participants are going to run over me. I got to make sure that they don't break his arm. No, we are worried about watching the match, watching and looking for all the components that are needed for points and scoring, so on and so forth. That's our main job. Now, the referee on the mat, their main job is the safety of the participants, encourage them to play to the middle. If it's a neutral position, like say a closed guard or a locked 50-50, and they're close to the edge of the mat, okay, then we'll stop the action and restart it in the center of the mat, and give them those opportunities. So each person has a very distinct job, but that's the major difference between referees in ADCC and everyone else. That
was one of the things I really noted when I did the rules seminar at East Coast Trials, was the emphasis for the referees and the judges to be very communicative with the athletes, let the athletes know what is going on, what you expect of them, and if they're doing something that is out of the rules or is going to get them a warning, that is communicated with the athletes prior.
Absolutely.
You're not surprising the athletes with information. And I just think that from as a competitor, that's a great thing to see, because then the athlete can go do what they need to do, and they're not all of a sudden surprised by, okay, I didn't know that warning was coming. I didn't know that was what was expected of me in this referee and in this match. And I just think overall it leads to a higher quality of performance that the athlete can do when you have that open communication. And again, ADCC, the highlights show that. You have some of the best grapplers in the world that meet, and with that additional communication, with the style of the rules, with the inability to play the edge, you get them to showcase some of the best jiu-jitsu and submission grappling in the world. I think that runs true. So it was very enlightening to do the rules seminar and actually have you on the mat, like showing and demonstrating and talking through a lot of these particular situations. And then it was great to have that. Miranda and I did that rules seminar, watch the weekend of events, and then be able to recap. And then we had some messages come into us after that event about, okay, why did this particular thing happen, between just listeners of the show and then people we actually trained with. And I actually reached out to you for a couple of them, and you could specifically tell me this is what happened here and this is why this was interpreted this way. And it was just great to see that there is that dialogue in the community and in ADCC in particular for that explanation.
And one of the things that, we have tried to do, especially these last 2 seasons, is, for the new referees and judges, we have made ourselves very accessible. And if anyone that has taken the referee, seminar, it's not far-fetched that, you can be working at the World Championships coming up, or the upcoming West Coast Trials. Like, for example, in your particular case, you did the seminar, you got your certificate and everything. If you'd like to be a part, let us know. And, if you have any questions, like I've always said, you want to see a complex match, watch, Rafa Mendes and Cobrinha during the Barcelona World Championships. I mean, that was insane. And try to score that match. So, find any other matches and ask us the questions. We will get you the answers.
Yeah, I appreciate that level of education for the community, because ADCC is such a big event, but still making it. And that's one of the things that, in talking to Mo back in 2019 when we interviewed him on the show, and then again at the trials, and then in other times since then, has really pushed in his interviews, also talked about making it more accessible, making it more available, making it more exciting, so that we can bring a larger audience into jiu-jitsu. And I appreciate that seems to be the unified goal, and if I'm correct there, with this upcoming ADCC, is to really blow the doors wide open, show that jiu-jitsu can continue to be exciting to a larger audience and engaging, and be more of a spectator sport.
Absolutely. I mean, that is one of the things that have been achieved this year. Just look at the pre-sales for the World Championships this year. They double the pre-sales in 1 hour than what they sold in 2019 total. Yeah. So, the outreach and the sponsors and, the coverage that this year's World Championships is acquiring in comparison to all the years prior combined, it's been a huge growth. And that has been always, that's been the goal. It's been a long road, but I think we're knocking at the door now.
Fantastic. So with the upcoming events that we have the West Coast Trials in about a month here from now that are now taking place in Las Vegas. I'm actually in the process of finalizing some flights and some hotels this weekend to go and potentially do some coverage out for that event. Looking forward to it. Is there anything that is planned for the West Coast Trials that's kind of going to differ from the East Coast Trials? I know Mo has talked about it.
It's insane. So I believe I spoke with Mo today or yesterday. My days are a little bit off from surgery, but I think we have already surpassed 830 participants. I believe 66, 77, and 88 kilos. They're about to cap those divisions because we have too many people. And unlike we traditionally, ADCC runs on 3 mats. For the New Jersey trials, the East Coast trials in November, we ran 5 mats.
Yeah.
We're going to be running 8 mats just because the amount of people we have. And not only 8 mats, we're running 2 days because of the amount of people that we have.
Yeah.
So this is a massive production. Not only that, I hope Mo doesn't get upset about this, but
we can always cut it.
they're going to, the guys, Seth Daniels, and Sean Fowler, they are the trifecta behind the scenes that make everything happen. And they have some very cool surprises for the show. So, if you're not there and you're not watching it, you're going to miss out.
That's absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to it. I'm trying to look through the rest of the questions. We've really gone through most of the questions that I had. Do you have any other items that you'd like to talk about for ADCC while we have you here?
Man, yeah. So, I mean, again, I've been with ADCC for a very long time. I think time-wise, I'm one of probably the top 5 guys that have been the longest with the organization. And just to see the growth, exponential growth, worldwide to the participants, we still have Pacific and Asia trials in Sydney, Australia coming up as well. We still have 1 more European trials in Moldova, which obviously because of the geographical location of Moldova and the conflict happening in Russia and Ukraine at the moment, that may have some adjustments. And then the West Coast trials. And I think we're done for trials. And the production level alone for the 22 World Championships, it's absolutely ridiculous. And also, I just spent a whole week down in Brazil for the Brazilian trials. And, man, the talent, like Mika Galvao won the 77 kilo division with 100% submission rate.
Yeah, that was phenomenal to watch. The whole run was phenomenal to watch.
His total time, the guys from Flow did the math, and I think his total time on the mat was under 5 minutes and 20 some odd seconds.
He was very, very quick.
That was insane. I mean, I tell you what, all of those kids out of the Mika Galvao camp, 5 sports camps in Manaus, they're just a bunch of savages. And this is the thing. All of them are very young. I think Fabricio Andre may be one of the oldest ones, but they're all, I think all of them are under 22 years of age.
Yeah, that's it's very much becoming a young man's sport, and it's very interesting to see. We had Abate qualify at the East Coast trials.
16 years of age.
16 years old.
As a blue belt.
Yeah, in quotes there.
That's just insane, that a blue belt can submit some of the highest level guys on the planet. But the thing is also people don't understand. A lot of these kids that are 19, 20, 21, they've been training since they're 7, 8 years old. So they've been training.
If not younger.
If not younger,
yeah.
So they've been training for 10 plus years, if not more. So, but the talent, it's different. But you can also see that, I hate to use the word discrepancy, but it is what it is, of the understanding of the rules. Traditionally, Brazil has always been the hotbed of the sport. And even when we did trials and championships down there, it was always to see, this is the guy that's going to win the next World Championships. I think there's been a little bit of a lag of understanding the rules. Actually, on I think it was a Sao Paulo event, I had a gentleman that he was the first period of the match. They were neutral position. He was defending a lot of takedowns. And then as the point periods began, within 20, 30 seconds, he sat to guard. So he gets a -1. So he lost by -1. So he gets out of the mat and he's asking me, what did I lose? And I said, you sat to guard during the period times. You get a -point. And he's like, no, it's the other way around. I was like, you're going to argue with me about the rules? Right now, it's the beginning you can sit to guy.
Yeah.
Now, so, again, it's just one example of the rules. Of not the rules, but of the understanding and the level of education on the athletes. But now, we did 2 solid seminars on there. We have a couple of guys, Renato in Sao Paulo. BJJ Stars is going to start doing all their no-gi matches based on ADCC rules.
Oh, that's phenomenal. They run some really great matches. It'd be
Pepe
awesome to
Lopez,
see more ADCC matches.
They just announced for their upcoming event, which I think is going to be April 30th. Leandro Lo is going to be one of the participants. And Pepe Lopez, who's the promoter for BJJ Stars, he was the man in charge of all the production on there. He does a phenomenal job. And, again, one of the things is that he's going to start running all the no-gi matches, ADCC rules. And, again, this is another step to the equation of things to continue to educate everybody in the rules system, and continue to grow the rule set as well.
If people are looking for more rules information, there's a really great video of one of the rules seminars that was done, I think at the Flow event in Austin,
correct,
a year ago or so, that's been edited. I think it's also the rules are now translated on the ADCC website in English and in Portuguese. You can watch that video. The video is essentially very, very similar to the rules seminar that I took at the East Coast Trials. It's very complete. It is very well explained, and it doesn't really leave a whole lot of questions for me regarding the rules work. Again, to take that seminar in person was just sort of an added step, again, to refresh myself. But the information is there, and it is accessible if you want to understand the ADCC rules better. It's about an hour long. It's very thorough.
No, absolutely. We did that during the Flow Grappling Road to the ADCC event, and I believe that was around October, September of 21, August or September of 21. And it was, so this is the thing. We covered all the basic rules. It's about an hour and a half. Mo, the head ADCC ref, Peter Batalski is always present, and myself, and we covered over everything. And one of the other things that we did is once we were done, okay, guys, who has any questions whatsoever? And we dedicated probably another hour and a half just answering specific strategical questions, specific event matches. We even had some of the competitors, they'll come up and, oh, look, this match, this happened. What if I do this and this other thing happened? And listen, we'll cover it. We go over it. And we want to continue to do this. And I believe Mo is going to be doing a free seminar in Gracie Baja, not Hermosa, La Jolla.
I don't know. One of the GBs in that area.
Edwin Namaji schools in California now in March, and then also again right before the West Coast Trials, which the West Coast Trials are going to take place April 2nd and 3rd. Mm-hmm. So I believe April 1st will be the seminar. And that will be a complete seminar with the certifications. And we will use some of the people doing the seminar. You got to show us some proficiency. You got to show us, interest as well. Reach us out to our social medias, and ask us questions. And we'd be more than happy to help and, educate as much as possible. Because also the other part of it is ADCC will be running ADCC Opens, regular tournaments with different divisions, novice, intermediate, advanced, and professional, starting after the World Championships.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm most excited about is the introduction of, or not the introduction, but on the U.S. side. I'm not sure, you ran an ADCC Open years and years ago, but they're historically pretty infrequent in the U.S., so I'm very, very excited for the opportunity to have more of those events, and again, give people that are maybe not on the professional level a chance to compete under that rule set more often in the U.S.
Yeah, and we actually had a really good event. I want to say it was about 5 years ago that we did it in South Florida. But yeah, like for example, Europe and Asia, they have ADCC Opens all the time.
Yeah.
at least once every 2 months, you know, and you know, so it's always being a little bit more prevalent over there, but in the U.S. not so much. But that's about to change. So you know, we have a pretty aggressive schedule coming up for that, and you know, it will start during the week of ADCC World Championships. I believe the Thursday or Friday before.
I think it's the Thursday.
The Thursday or the Thursday or Friday before the actual World Championships. We're going to have, you know, the Open. You know, for the old guys like me, we'll have a Masters and Senior division. And you know, the cool thing about this one is, you know, how many times a hobbyist can say, I competed at the first official largest ADCC Open at the Thomas and Mack Arena.
Yeah, that
on the official World Championship mats, you know, being covered by Flow Grappling.
It'll be a pretty cool event. Again, I'm going to get there that week to be able to cover it on our end, and I'm very, very excited about it. So, do you have any additional things you want to talk about as far as ADCC goes? I really, again, appreciate your time.
No problem, man. Listen, that's what we're here for. So, man, there's some savages coming out of Brazil. I was very impressed with some of those, you know, some of the talent down there. Even so, also the women's division.
Yeah.
God, what is her last name? Is Jara. She won the plus 66 female division. 18 years old, purple belt, and she is a back-taking machine. You know, Maisa Bastos. I think she submitted everybody as well.
I think so. Very quickly in the finals. You know,
it's like, you know, some of the talent that we saw those 2 weekends down there was phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see, you know, the talent coming up in the upcoming West Coast Trials. Man, there's some European guys. That guy from Ireland that won the first European trials. You know, Oliver Taza, who won European trials as well. He's always kind of like a staple. He's always there. You know, I know Poland has a lot of tough guys out there as well. So again, we have one more set of trials in Europe, but really excited to see what's going on, and I cannot wait for the World Championships, man. It's going to be a spectacle, that's for sure.
Looking forward to it. Carlos, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it. Looking forward to having you on the show again and getting a chance to talk with you here at Vegas. Thanks.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much for your time.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
So, as always, actually, do we have anything for the outro? Do you have anything going on this week?
I think I'm doing Grappling Industries. I'm registered at least.
Nice. When's that? That's the 12th.
Saturday, yeah.
Fantastic. You looked at your division yet?
Just one person.
Okay.
I moved myself to 150 because fuck it, I'm not cutting weight.
That's reasonable.
I don't feel like cutting to 35.
That's awesome. Then we're going to Vegas in a month here for trials, and then I think I don't have much other than like my week's going to get very, very busy with work, and that's all I've got planned. I've got an in-house scrimmage between some of the college gyms that we are affiliated with and I coach at that we're doing this weekend. That will be fun to watch some of the people that I coach compete in an in-house, so I'm excited about that. And then other than that, that's all I got.
Okay.
So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Miranda.
And we got the Grappling Round to see on the mat. Whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.